The room was colder than it had any right to be. The walls, a lattice of interwoven metal and translucent crystal, hummed softly with energy that seemed alive, resonating with patterns no human eye could track. Humans were not supposed to be here. Not really. The facility had been designed for beings with denser musculature, with neural networks capable of processing multiple electromagnetic frequencies simultaneously. The architects of the Academy had never intended to accommodate a death-world human, not one whose survival instincts had been honed under gravity storms and radiation flares. Yet here he was, stepping lightly across the polished floor, his every motion precise, deliberate, unassuming. She was already there, standing at the edge of the observation chamber, her form lithe and angular, skin rippling with subtle color shifts between deep cerulean and muted gold. Her species' physiology had evolved under different light spectra entirely, and the way she held herself, with her limbs bending at angles no human could comfortably achieve, made the entire chamber feel like it had been warped around her presence. She did not speak. She did not blink in the human sense. She simply regarded him, tilting her head in a way that was almost imperceptible but held immense meaning, a gesture so refined it would have been invisible to any untrained eye. The human stopped a measured distance away. Silence stretched between them like a taut wire. "What if I kissed you?" he asked, his voice steady, flat, carrying no tremor, no inflection, no demand. It was neither flirtation nor provocation. It was a question, a challenge framed as inquiry, a test for which no procedure existed. Her senses, photoreceptive clusters and subdermal electromagnetic arrays, shifted in microseconds, recording and interpreting. She made no immediate response. A flicker across her skin hinted at tension, a contraction of muscles unfamiliar to him, yet subtly readable after years of studying alien motion. The room's automated monitors began to classify the interaction as a possible breach, noting irregular proximity, energy fluctuation, and unexpected behavioral input. Protocols that had been rigid for centuries began to hesitate, algorithms struggling to adjust. He moved slightly closer, almost imperceptibly. The air between them seemed to thicken, vibrating with an energy that was not electrical, but biological, human instinct against alien expectation. He aligned the faint electromagnetic field that radiated from his body with her own, careful, precise, non-invasive. The human was not strong, not fast, not superior in the ways the Academy had catalogued. But he had learned to read reaction, intention, and consequence in a way no alien algorithm could anticipate. Time slowed. There were no sounds other than the faint hum of the room. Every shift of her body, every oscillation of the energy grid that surrounded them, became a conversation. A slight bend of her upper torso toward him, one could have called it curiosity. A flicker along her dorsal tendrils, one could have called it hesitation. But neither word was accurate. They were interpretations, human translations of alien thought, barely adequate for the magnitude of what was unfolding. The human did not touch her. He did not need to. He only existed in proximity, allowing the tension to accumulate naturally. Her own systems began to fluctuate, sensors firing in uncharacteristic patterns, registering the human's presence as more than a mere anomaly. The facility, for all its intelligence, could not parse the data. It classified her response as undetermined, which in the Academy's lexicon was worse than failure. Minutes passed, or was it hours? He could not tell. Temporal perception within the chamber was unreliable, altered by the high-energy resonance of the lattice. And then, in a moment too subtle for cameras to capture, she moved closer, not in a leap, not in aggression, but in a conscious alignment that mirrored what the human understood as consent, though it was not consent by her species' definition. The electromagnetic pulse along her spine harmonized with his, and the room itself seemed to acknowledge the shift, quivering imperceptibly along its crystalline lattice. Observers in the control tier recorded everything silently. They did not intervene. They did not cheer. They were authority figures, beings whose lifespans and experiences dwarfed the humans, yet they found themselves revising assumptions in real time. For centuries, humans had been categorized as low risk, inconsequential. This one human had appended that categorization in a matter of minutes, using no violence, no demonstration of strength, no overt manipulation. He had demonstrated subtle dominance, not through power, but through understanding, restraint, and timing. The alien woman's form rippled, not with fear or desire, but with calculation. She had studied humans in archives, monitored their behaviors, and yet this quiet defiance of expectation was impossible to model. Every instinct she had told her to retreat, to reset, to enforce separation. Yet her body, despite itself, lingered within the radius of potential contact, registering the human's calm, deliberate neutrality. And in that lingering, the academy itself shifted. Protocols adjusted. Schedules were rewritten. Every monitoring algorithm noted the anomaly and attempted, unsuccessfully, to rationalize it. Eventually, the human stepped back. He did not speak. He did not gesture. The room's temperature, subtly modulated by the lattice, returned to baseline. The alien woman's skin pattern returned to its default state, yet a trace of the encounter remained in her senses, a memory encoded in a form she would not articulate. Authority figures recorded the event quietly, in margins of their logs, noting that assumptions about humanity required reassessment. Not immediately, not dramatically, but fundamentally. Later, when the chamber was empty, the residual energy of the human's presence lingered. The facility had learned something it could not catalogue. The alien woman, alone in her quarters, replayed the event in micro-adjustments of her body, an unconscious recognition that the human species could not be contained by expectation. They had evolved in a manner she did not anticipate. They could operate within rules and break them simultaneously, not through overt defiance, but through quiet comprehension. The human walked away from the chamber as he always did, unremarked, unnoticed, yet transformative. He did not explain. He did not justify. He never sought approval. Yet the academy itself had been altered in his wake. Humanity's ranking, its risk assessment, its potential for influence, was recalculated silently, imperceptibly. What had been a trivial species now represented an unquantifiable variable, a presence whose impact would unfold slowly, quietly, irreversibly. And somewhere within the lattice of senses, within the deep corridors of interstellar authority, the alien woman remained, carrying the memory of that near contact, the knowledge that humans could operate on a plane of subtlety and awareness unmatched by centuries of design. The human did not return. He never would. But the questions he had asked, and the answer he had drawn out without touching, would reverberate through the academy for generations. Protocols would be rewritten, assumptions quietly abandoned, and humanity's place in the galaxy would be understood, not through displays of power, but through deliberate, patient choice. The question had been asked. The answer had been given. And the facility, and everyone in it, would never again assume that humans could be predicted or contained.